children, how are you? Have you ever wondered who lived on our beautiful island before us? Today, we will travel back in time to meet the Dutch, who settled here a long time ago. In August 1598, the Dutch explorers were the first to officially discover our island. A violent storm hit their ship and forced them to seek shelter on our island. They named it Mauritius after a prince in their homeland. The Dutch used the island as a stopover for fresh water and food for their long journeys, but they did not stay long. 40 years later, the Dutch decided they wanted this piece of paradise for themselves. So, they settled at Grand Port Bay, now called Vieux Grand Port. Why stay here? The Dutch were not the only sailors on the Indian Ocean for trade. There were also the British and the French. The Dutch were worried that other countries might take over the island, so they decided to make Mauritius their own. To protect themselves, the Dutch built a fort called Fort Frederick Hendrik. They even placed cannons nearby to scare away any unfriendly visitors. The Dutch were also farmers. They built huts with wood and palm leaves, started cultivating the land to grow their own food, and reared animals. They even built roads to get around the island easily. The place offered natural advantages as well as some disadvantages. Mauritius provided a delicious feast for the Dutch. They fished in the lagoons and streams. Back then, the island was full of amazing wildlife, including birds like the dodo. Look closely at the picture, children. Do you notice the giant flightless bird? That is a dodo, a bird that lived on Mauritius but is now extinct. Because they could not fly away, it was easy for the Dutch to hunt them. They also ate tortoises, bats, and other interesting animals. They introduced domestic animals like pigs, deer, and cattle. And sugarcane was brought from Java. They started its cultivation to produce arak. The Dutch had a special treasure in mind: ebony trees. This dark wood was super strong and valuable. People loved it in Holland. The Dutch brought slaves to cut down the ebony trees. The logs were then loaded on ships and sent across the ocean to Holland to be sold at a remarkably high price. Imagine those giant logs sailing across the ocean. Can you imagine what kind of furniture they might have built with that ebony wool? Even though Mauritius was beautiful, life of the Dutch settlers was not always easy. They faced many difficulties. Imagine the challenges they might have faced from looking at the pictures. The Dutch were also responsible for the failure of their settlement here. There were few people on the island, and many of them were not hardworking. Therefore, few changes were brought during their stay. They killed more animals than necessary, and the result was a shortage of food. They felled too many trees, and the price of ebony went down in Holland. Cyclones destroyed their houses and crops. Maroon slaves often attacked the settlers, and rats destroyed their crops. The Dutch were discouraged. Finally, by 1710, sadly, after many years, they decided it was time to look for new adventures, and they abandoned the island. Today, we can still see part of the ruins of the thick walls of the fort. In May 1999, part of the fort has been transformed into a museum where objects and writings are exposed to help us understand settlement in Mauritius. This is just a taste of the Dutch chapter in Mauritius' story. There is so much more to discover. You will soon visit Vieux-Grand-Port for your school outing. See if you can imagine the wildlife, Dutch people living there, building their fort and exploring the island. Until then, get ready children for more adventures. Bye bye.